So, I just finished watching Black Cake. I know I'm late to the game, but let's talk about it. Let's first of all talk about the things that I enjoyed and the things that I think you can learn from. Hi, I'm Shannan E. Johnson, CEO of The Professional Pen, where we develop screenwriters from idea to pitch. Need help in your screenplay? Go to www.theprofessionalpen.com. All right, let's get into it. Number one, motivate your flashbacks. This is a flashback heavy series. And I know sometimes you hear that using flashbacks to tell stories is not a good thing because it's a handicap that you can lean on. However, if you're using the flashback as a story mechanism that helps to push the story forward, because what we're learning in the flashback actually affects the present day story, or the flashbacks are the present day story, then it is now being used to push the story forward. So in Black Cake, they do a very, very good job of motivating their flashbacks, meaning we are only pulled into a flashback when something in the present takes us there, whether it is an emotion or the narration, which we're going to talk about in a second. Or, for example, one of the reasons that she goes into flashback is because she is trying to separate her mind from the moment that she's having. And so she will then flashbacks to moments with the love of her life so that she can escape. So they're using it as a form of escapism. They're also using it as a form of storytelling, which brings us to narration, because I know you also hear, don't use a narrator, don't use voiceover. Why? Because most of the time people are using it to tell us how their characters are feeling or what they're thinking instead of showing us. And we know that it should be show, don't tell. So the reason that we have a narrator in this limited series is because the narrator is the mother who is writing letters or voice notes for her children after she passed away. She wants to tell them about her actual life, which she had been keeping a secret from them. And because she had kept this secret from them, it not only affected her life and her husband's life, but their lives. So she's taking them through the accounts of her past. That is why there is a narrator. So that narration doesn't happen all the way through the episode, but it will happen at the beginning. It happens at the end to give us a cliffhanger, and they always have fantastic cliffhangers. And then it also happens to transition us from present day into past tense. So if you're ever going to use voiceover narration, ask yourself, what is its function? Is it just here to cheat and tell us what's going on inside the head of your character? Or is it actually being used as some kind of story mechanism that pushes the story forward? Another thing about this show that they did really well, every single episode had a clear goal. Every episode. So remember, we talked about the cliffhangers. The cliffhangers always set us up for the information that we were going to find out in the next episode. That's how you hook people and get them to come back and continue watching. So every time they resolved something, and I'm putting it in quotations because as a limited series, there's a longer problem that they're trying to figure out, and they're resolving small steps along the way to get to the larger picture, right? So as they resolve the goal of that particular episode, they then give you just a little tidbit of some information to make you go, oh, now I got to come back and figure out what's going to happen, right? So in every single episode, even in the flashbacks, right? Because the first three are very flashback heavy because they're all about her childhood, all about Eleanor's. I'm not going to spoil it for you. They're all about Eleanor's childhood. So most of it is told in flashback. But in each episode, we understand what we're tracking, right? So as an exercise, when you watch it, go back and ask yourself, what are we tracking each episode? What is the goal of each episode? And then you will see that she goes through steps. So for example, this is just a small spoiler. In the second episode, when she moves to a new place, I won't say why, she gets there and the goal is to acclimate to that place while she's living this new life and the complications that come in the way and how she gets around that to continue. Because since it's a flashback, we already know that she's going to live. We just don't know how she gets from point A to point Z. Something else that they did really, really well was the themes. The themes of keeping secrets and how keeping secrets can affect each other. It doesn't only affect you, but it affects the people around you, which also then brought on the theme of identity and sexuality, and identity and race. And so they do a really good job with giving each of the characters their own points of view, own flaws, own issues that show those things, and even how they can be upset with one person for doing something that they are also doing. So for example, with the keeping of secrets, they're upset with their mother for keeping secrets, but the children also keep secrets from each other. There is one of the daughters who learns new information that her mother was keeping from her, but she too is lying to her own son. So those lies start to perpetuate, those secrets being kept perpetuate, right? And so they do a really, really good job of making it very complex, that there is no right or wrong answer, that even protection is one of the themes, especially when it comes to the time period and how women needed husbands or fathers to protect them from other men. That's an entirely different conversation. And how they would also keep secrets to protect each other. So if you want to watch something that shows theme without knocking you over the head with it, without preaching about it, but just shows you how people are affected by the themes that are in the show, Black Cake is a good one to watch. All right, now let's talk about some of the critiques of Black Cake. One, the stakes weren't high enough, even though the show is totally surrounded by stakes. And I'm going to tell you why. This is a spoiler. She's running from danger, but that danger never comes after her. And because we spend so much time in the past, we have an opportunity to see that danger come after her, but it never does, which means she's never actually in danger, right? So all of the secrets that she keeps comes from needing to keep herself safe from said danger. But the police never come after her, and the brothers never come after her. So she's running from nothing, right? Now, because it's based on a book and probably very closely tied to the book, I'm going to assume that they didn't come after her in the book either. So what I would have done differently in the script so that there can be a little more action behind the stakes is I would have made it so the police or the brothers of her husband would have gone after her, at least to London, because they knew that's where the love of her life was, and all they had to do was follow him to find her. I think we needed that. We needed to feel like she could actually get caught. With that being said, instead of making the stakes that people were actually after her, she made the stakes for herself by continuing to pile secret and lie on top of each other. And so you know what happens when you start lying, right? You have to keep up the lies. And so eventually the lies would catch up to her every now and again. And then the stakes were, well, what are they going to do now that they know I've lied, right? And so those were the stakes. But I think that it could have really used some of the actual danger being very close to finding her in some way, shape, form, or fashion. 2, I was far more interested in the first 3 or 4 episodes than I was the rest of the series. And here's why. Because it was so flashback heavy, and because it was about Eleanor's secret life before she had her children, I was far more invested in Eleanor than her children. I actually didn't care what was going on with her children. And also Benny worked my nerves. That's just my truth. That is my truth. Benny was getting on my nerves because she just thought the entire world was against her. And I know they were trying to prove why she felt that way. And a lot of her mother's lies didn't help, right? But at the end of the day, I just wanted her to pull it together. She was really working my nerves being a victim the entire series. So I say that to say when it became more about the children and less about the mother, it started to lose me. I continued to watch and I made it all the way through the end. And this will be my last critique. I thought the very last moments, the resolution, actually the new normal. So what I mean by new normal is after the resolution, where are the people now? Now that they've gone through this journey, in this particular case, now that they've learned the truth, now that they know who their mother and father actually are, what is of their life now? And I thought this moment was really on the nose. Seeing Benny singing, and it's like, okay, sure, we learned she was an artist, but we talked more about her being an actual artist, painter, sculptor. We even talked a lot about her having a cafe and cooking. So to see her singing and playing the guitar, as our backdrop to watching her siblings do what they were doing, I felt was very on the nose and very forced. Also, like I said, she worked my nerves, so I was over her. I didn't really care about her growth. It seemed like just an opportunity to get the actress to sing, who is gorgeous. I mean, this cast was gorgeous, okay? I also thought it was really on the nose that the brother decided now he's going to file a lawsuit. I guess that's what was happening, because he was talking to the lawyer who helped with his mom's last will and testament, and he was recording. So I assume that means that they are going to work together on a case. And I just thought that was a lot. I felt like the moment that we had with him on the panel standing up for himself was enough. And I could just assume from there that he was going to make changes. You know what I mean? Whether he was going to quit or, demand a raise or whatever he was going to do, I understood that he had changed. And I felt it very on the nose for it to be like, and now we're going to start a racial discrimination case. That was just like, okay. What I didn't mind, though, I didn't mind not knowing where Mabel is going to end up. I didn't mind that at all. Though I do get to a place where it's like, I don't necessarily need a whole series about Mabel. I don't know. I don't know if I need that. But I like the fact that when you are realizing what your true identity is, like when this is such new information, when you're learning that your life started in, I'm trying not to spoil it, guys, but started in such a negative place, then it's far too complex to try to figure out in these few episodes. And so I'm glad they didn't try. Also, I have not read the book, so for all I know, that's how the book ends. I haven't the slightest idea. But I did not mind that. I actually enjoyed that it was open-ended, because it felt natural for it to be open-ended. Happy writing!
Get notes on your script that get you unstuck at www.theprofessionalpen.com.
The Professional Pen. The